my fellow Cybertronians, and welcome back to the Ginger Transformer. This is Mega Ginge, the Ginger Transformer himself, and as promised, we're going to be going through the UK comics because let's face it, I'm from the UK. The US comics get a lot of press. The UK doesn't, And the UK had a lot of really interesting storylines. Target 2006, Time Wars, not a lot of one shots like you would get in the US comics, and some of them are pretty fucking weird. Well, I can tell you now, the UK ones, well, we can bat 1,000 when it comes to weird. These are the collected comics that were brought out. It's like Target 2006, Fallen Angel, Prey, Second Generation. They're collected ones of specific comics to a specific storyline I'll be doing. So it's not all of them. I don't have all of them. I've not read all of them. I've read enough. But from basically the UK comics eventually came under as kind of filler between comics. US comic, UK, 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 US, UK, 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 US. We're all waiting for another comic to come out, And it was quite hard for the writers and the artists at the time to make good stories for the UK ones that didn't tread on the feet of the US ones. The US comics were the main comics. For example, the UK comics couldn't kill off Prime before he was killed in the US comics. It would fuck up their timeline. They couldn't do it. Without further ado, I'm going to go from as earliest possible all the way down to the later ones. Once again, a lot of these came out in a kind of jumbled order. You'll see that in some of them. But for the very first one, it's not going to be jumbled because the very first one. It wasn't the first one we brought out. The first one we brought out was Target 2006. Subsequent collected comics followed, and because of the success, 4 more collected comics came out, and this is one of them. It is the Marvel UK collected comic of Dinobot Hunt, and it says it all in the name. The main story is hunting down rogue Dinobots. Now this starts. Now, like I said, it's many comics relating to the Dinobots, all around the Dinobot Hunt storyline. For example, the Icarus Theory Part 1 and 2. We are introduced to Professor Morris. He is a human, and from what I could tell, was introduced in this comic, and he was a UK created character. But he's human. I love humans and stuff. He finds the wreckage of Swoop, and given that he's a professor, and he thinks that GB Blackrock, a character created in the US comics who is an ally of the Autobots, he thinks that he controls the Autobots, that they're non-thinking, non-living machines. He finds Swoop's wreckage and sets him on the Autobots. Eventually, the Autobots are able to break the mental link between Swoop and Professor Morrison, because Swoop in this timeline does not like Optimus Prime. He hates him, especially when he uses the words, "I order you to do something." Swoop doesn't like that. Swoop, no. You don't say that. You don't say that to Swoop. It breaks the mental hold that Morris has over him, and Swoop goes to kill him. He finds him. He's got the gun on him, and Morris repents. He says he deserves to die. So Swoop, he doesn't kill him, but he takes him to the Autobots. He explains he didn't realize they were living machines. Blah blah blah. He'd seen all the stuff with Robot Master. He assumed that they were just giant war machines, basically. After realizing his error, his faux pas, he apologizes, heartwarming, blah blah blah, until Swoop turns on the Autobots again, this time without Morris in control. He turns feral, and it makes Optimus Prime realize that unfortunately there are 4 other Dinobots out there who are all going to go scatty, just like Swoop. That takes us out of the Icarus stories, part 1 and 2, issues 45 and 46 of the UK comics, to Dinobot Hunt. It's a 4-parter. It's issues 47 through 50. It introduces a character we'll see again, just like we'll see Professor Morris again. Joy Meadows. She is, an aspiring reporter at this point who, not an aspiring one that's not taken seriously, does like crap, basically, and we see her again later on as a fully fledged reporter and stuff, thanks to everything to do with Dinobot Hunt. Yeah, she's in one of the stories, the second part. In the first part, basically, there's 4 teams of 3 Autobots apiece trying to hunt down the Dinobots. Not to hurt them, but to capture them, bring them back home alive. Joy Meadows is in there. She is taking pictures of sludge. You know, she's like, yay, giant robot dinosaurs, going to be famous. No other humans, I think, are introduced. None that you ever see again, as far as I'm aware, are introduced in this comic. But a lot of humans, they end up getting nearly trampled by, either snarl in the desert, sludge in the swamp, um, slag, and it's not the desert. It just looks like it could be like out west somewhere because there's a couple of little cowboys trying to wrangle them. To Laserbeak makes an astute observation: they must be off their head. And the Autobots who were chasing Slag make the same observation: they must be out of their minds. Oh yeah. Laserbeak. The Decepticons catch wind of the Autobots trying to round up the errant Dinobots. So of course they make things really bad for them. They capture one of the teams, use their own shuttle to get in amongst it, send a signal that drives Grimlock and Sludge off their nut into a frenzied battle with each other. And several Autobot casualties in this. Now the main cast here in all a Dinobot Hunt is basically your season 1 Autobots and Decepticons. It's basically your season 1s. I don't think we see any season 2s yet. It just ends with Soundwave saying the Decepticons have won, you have taken casualties, Prime's looking on quite annoyed. We then get that's a Transformers special, it's called Victory. It shows each of the Dinobots in their own little dream worlds, either, killing, maiming, sludges off with Joy Meadows again. It turns into like some sort of cyborg woman that's quite creepy. It's based with little speech bubbles at the end of each dream, someone asking questions and someone explaining something. Optimus Prime is asking Ratchet questions as to why the Dinobots won't wake up. And basically, Ratchet doesn't know why. It's just a kind of, they reach the level they need to get to achieve consciousness, and it just goes back down, and they're back in the dream again, which is fantastic. They went to all the trouble of rounding them up, fixing them up, and now they won't wake up. Does that last? Does it hell? Then we go into the national interest, parts 1 through 4. Another Dinobot focused, orientated story. Once again, I'm not gonna lie, I like this comic. It's not even my top 5. I think it's like number 6 out of my collected comics, because I am a big Dinobot fan, and anything with them in it is usually pretty good. In the national interest, we revisit Professor Morris, who is now being tried for his crimes. He used Swoop's body to kill a human guard that caught him in the middle of using Swoop to attack the Autobots. And so he's up for his crimes. So we see him again. You see Robot Master in one frame. He's only mentioned like really once. You see Walter Barnett. You see Mr. Forsyth and III, the Intelligence and Information Institute. In this, all of these, this is when they're first introduced in this comic. I don't know if they've been introduced before in UK continuity. Like I said, I can't remember that far back. I've not really read that far back. I do know they were introduced quite early in the US comics. This is not their first appearance. We know who these people are, what the organizations are, and just how boned the Autobots are. Because they don't differentiate between Autobot and Decepticon. They'll kill whatever big, giant, scary robots are coming for them. Forsyth concocts his plan, get Professor Morris on side, give him this lovely big metal body that he controls with his some sort of telepathic helmet. Think Cerebro, he puts it on and he controls this big robot called Centurion, who inadvertently ends up helping the Dinobots. Joy Meadows just came out and said, I can prove that the Autobots are the good guys, Decepticons are the bad guys, Robot Master's a sham, III don't want this. So originally he's been sent after her. Unfortunately, Megatron and the Decepticons also got wind of this, and they don't want this getting out any more than III does. So they go after her as well. I think it's Megatron sitting Brave and the Constructicons. Yay! So back at the Ark. Thankfully, all the Dinobots seem to have woken up. no explanation as to why, but from what I could see, they've just all came out of their comas, they storm off in a mood, you know. Sludge sees the lassie on TV, the Joy Meadows lassie, and he's like, "Oh, it's her. She was taking pictures of me. She took care of me while I was like, just nah, you know." When Sludge was basically being Sludge, so they go to find her, and it seems to all just kick off in a wonder. She gets getting chased down by Megatron and Centurion and human people from Triple I, and the Dinobots intercept, and this poor fucking woman. She's probably she didn't have a heart attack, if I'm completely honest. Eventually, the Dinobots get her out of harm's way, and our camera crew in their van, Swoop goes and collects them after getting into a fight with Megatron, which Centurion once again, Professor Morse, intervenes with. Now, Professor Morse obviously knows Swoop, but Swoop doesn't know that Centurion is Professor Morse. Centurion can't speak, from what we can tell, well, from what we can see, from Inception all the way to his death at the hands of Galvatron. Death, the robot was destroyed. Professor Morse wasn't. But yeah, we never saw him speak, not once. But yeah, that seems to get overlooked at this point. Doesn't for long. Another comic, Professor Morse does admit, yeah, it is me. Let me take control of your body for whatever reason. That will get done later, okay? So yeah, basically, I end up having a massive rally on a beach. You've got the Dinobots versus Megatron and the Constructicons. Very quickly reminding Megatron that you're not dealing with Autobots, you're dealing with Dinobots. So expect a fight. And there is. But unfortunately, the Dinobots don't really do too well because they're still outnumbered. That's when Centurion, Professor Morris, makes a choice. He can follow Triple I's orders, get the girl and go, or he can help them. He decides to help them. So he jumps in, joins the fight, evens up the odds just enough for Soundwave to go, "Listen, I'm just going to take these tapes, I'm going to burn these tapes." Basically, this is why the proof that she had that the Dinobots were sentient, that they were living robots, they weren't just controlled by Robot Master. As soon as they were done, basically Soundwave's the one that says, "Right, we're calling off the fight." And Megatron's like, "Who the you think you are?" He's like, "Yeah, no, we've got what we want. They're burned. They don't have any copies. I've scanned their minds. Yeah, we're good to go." And Megatron decides to call it quits. The Dinobots, they weren't beat, but they took a beating, but they weren't beat so much as Megatron and the others just decided to leave once the goal had been achieved. That's pretty much it. Epilogue of that. We see Professor Morris has sealed himself into this chamber where he can control Centurion. Triple I are leaving him there, telling him, "Yeah, you're a murderer, you're a criminal. We're eventually going to get through this, and we're going to get you. And you'll disappear in the name of the national interest." And Professor Morrison makes this vow, "Yeah, I've got a year's supply of water, of food. It won't take me that long to come for you." Spoiler alert, he never gets to go for him. Poor guy. That's in a nutshell, Dinobot Hunt. Like I said, there was several comics in one. Icarus Theory Part 1 and 2, issues 45 and 46. Dinobot Hunt Parts 1 through 4, issues 47 through 50. Then I could, about nearly 25 stories later, it was the National Interest, parts 7, issues 74 to 77. Now, there was a big thing that happens in between that and one of the other comics. It is the comic Second Generation that comes out. We'll be doing a podcast on that comic as well. But basically, the Second Generation, all of them are in between Dinobot Hunt Part 4 and the National Interest Part 1. But like I say, these aren't in any order. They're in kind of hold on, I'll show you, actually. Oh, there you go. You can see it now as long as I am in front. There you go. Basically, it's one big collected comic. It's got lots of stuff. That's so weird, the effect. And like I said, they're not all in order. Well, these are, but as we go on, you'll understand what I mean by they're not all in order. That's it. The next one is the first collected comic they brought out to try this to see if people had an interest. It was Target 2006. And we get introduced to quite a few human characters here, or characters that were introduced in the US comics. And the next comic, the next podcast, we get introduced to a litany of new characters, all Cybertronian, thank Christ. But yeah, that's for the next podcast. That's for the next time. So until then, roll out, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.